games, progression in this game is super slow. It's super hard. Hopefully, progression will be changed when the game goes full. Um, that's another problem. They need to give you more at the end of every match, like dust, quints, something. Another one that they have is their boosts are horrible. Um, there's exactly 3 choices for boost. Um, in SS, we have no ability to add real money into the game, so we have to use tricks of buying marks for more marks for marks to actually be able to get certain things in here. And if I don't keep within 200 to 300 marks, if I don't keep at least 200 marks, I won't be able to do any of that. So that's the problem for us who are playing on the SS. It's in Geo Beta in 7 or 8 countries, and those guys can play for free. Probably. The funny thing is, they don't want to go into competitive right now because the idea is it's a brand new game, and they made a few mistakes with Vainglory, where they went so hard on the competitive side and focused so much on the competitive side and spent so much money bigging up the competitive, sponsoring players, creating tournaments, handing out prizes, that if they had saved that money and put it towards the game, Vainglory would still be alive right now. It's because a lot of it went towards building the esports space that a lot of mobile games enjoy now. But Vainglory was like a big part of creating that, and it was really strong. It's one of the more of the popular things, and it was really popular at its height. If you say did it work, it works perfectly, where now you'll see there are esports for mobile games. Like WoW Rift has invitationals and everything. The difference is Vainglory spent so much of their cash that they were bringing in on the game towards that aspect of it. It basically killed the game. It crippled it. Yeah, it was. It was. It's the game, you still can play it. It's just it doesn't have they tried to pass it to another company. The other company was going to shut it down. So SEMC came in and saved it. But the issue that they're having is they're working on Vainglory. They thought they were going to be able to do some stuff real quick and fix it and get it off the ground, but they were running into a lot of trouble. So they created a shell version of the game where you can still play it, but you don't really have access to skins. You don't really have access to a lot of the other features that you had before. And it loads up a bit wonky. It was hard to get into games. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. To me, there's a lot of kids who grew up playing it. They started like when they were 13 years old. They're like now they're like in their 20s now. And the theory they have is Vainglory is so much better than this game. Stop working on this game, go back to Vainglory. But they're really being childish about it because that's just not gonna happen. It's like that's just never gonna happen. They moved on from it, and they had a plan to get this game out, and that's what they're gonna do. They're not gonna just go back like, you guys are right. We're gonna just throw the millions of dollars that we spent on developing this. It's just gonna put that in mothballs, and we're gonna try to make Vainglory come back, but it wasn't sustainable, so that's why we had to leave it. But that's what we're gonna work on instead. It's like, what do you guys? What's wrong with you people? And the reason is, I started playing Vainglory when I was in my mid 30s. Or late 30s. So I'm an adult when I started, and I'm in my 40s now, and I'm playing this. So I'll just tell you, my outlook, and I've been in the business world, and I've done software development. I've done a lot of the things that a lot of these folks don't seem to understand. And then they'll be like, well, these guys got millions of dollars from something they bought. I'm just like, but do you think people actually make millions of dollars and then take that million and sink it back into a company and say, we're going to put this all into that game? No one does that. Like, I mean, let's just be realistic. That's not how the world works. So when they're acting like this company and freaking like the CEO's personal finance is the company's personal finance, that's not correct. This company has its own set of books, He has his own personal set of books. He has adventures that he's doing besides this, and this is just one of the things that he works on. But he's not going to take millions and millions of his own dollars and it's like, I'm going to bankroll this game and make it work. That's not how it works. That's not the real world. No one does that. He would basically have no home. Like, he has a lifestyle. So it's really weird. Like, some of the stuff that I hear people talking about don't make sense to me. And it must be because I'm a bit older and I also know something about software development and I know whatever. They say everything is super easy, but they've never sat down and worked on a project where everything should be working, but yet it takes you about a month to figure out why something is failing. And if you don't have the right conversation with the right person, you may never figure it out. Like, there's a bug that I was facing that was plaguing us for over 2 months. They're like, they gotta fix this. I was having a conversation with my wife and she mentioned something. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. Do you know what the bug was? It had to do with the time shift. We were in the US and the people that were using it were in London. Their time changed 5 hours before us. So it unsynced our data because of that. And I had to write code just to take care of the time shift. Did that thing became perfect. All the slowdown and the things that were happening disappeared. Because what was happening is when they were doing their stuff, it was actually asking for data from the US from the future. And the US was still in the past. So it couldn't basically work. It's that simple. But I never would have fixed that if I was having a conversation with my wife. And this was a problem that was plaguing us for months. So when they act like, well, this is broken, why don't you just fix it? Because sometimes it's not easy. That's what gets me about it. That's what bothers me so much. I have a better understanding of how difficult this stuff can be. And the problem is a lot of these guys are acting like, nah, it should be easy. And why don't they just do it? So it's funny to me. Like, this one guy's like, well, you're not gonna convince me that wow, Rift is not better than this game. But I'm just like, but still, like, you know, they're different companies. You know, it's a different type of game, and you know, one game has way more resources to pull from than the other. But you're acting like they should basically develop and be doing things in the exact same way. Riot is a way bigger company than SCMC. SCMC is like 90 people. Riot is like thousands. It's a whole different company. They're working on other games plus League of Legends all at once. SCMC is working on one game. and the game they're building is built from scratch. There's no game like it ever on the market. It's completely different than everything else that you know. But then you're acting like, hey, it should be like League. But how can it? It's not even the same type of game. So it's the thing that infuriates me, like, with the conversation. And these guys are in their 20s. These guys are in their mid 30s. But sometimes they have the outlook of like little kids, like kids in high school, and they think they deserve more, they expect more. One guy just said it, no, I just wished it was in a better place. I'm like, that's fair. I'm not saying it's not like I don't wish it's in a better place too, but I don't think that these guys are just sitting on their thumbs and doing nothing. I think they're working really hard to try to do this, and the problems they're going into, they're not sitting down and giving you a day-by-day breakdown of the issues that they're running into, because you know how frustrating it could be where they're like, yeah, we've been working on this thing for like 3 weeks and we can't crack it. And people are like, well, why can't you? But because it's not easy. It's not. And people get more frustrated than that. Like, to me, if I could hear some of the stuff, maybe I could give an idea. Like, I may not know exactly what you're coding, but sometimes just giving it to a fresh set of eyes or a fresh mind that's not within what you guys are in, and you just talk it through. Sometimes a person will say something, you're like, yeah, that's it. And that's literally how I fixed a problem that was plaguing me in programming for what do you call it, for 2-3 months. It's a conversation with my wife, and she says one thing, and that's the answer. So, like, yeah, like, I mean, but that's my only take on it. Capture the flag. We're